Hey there, it's Nick.
And it's Leah.
Real quick thing before we get going. We are doing a listener survey.
Yeah, we did one a few years back, and we were like, I guess we should do a new one.
Yeah, we want to know, who are you?
Where are you?
What do you like?
Do you like dogs?
Do you like our show?
I hope so.
So please go to our website and select survey and take our survey.
Please. We'd appreciate it.
We really would. So thank you. Hey everybody, it's Nick Layton.
And it's Leah Bonema.
And we had so many great questions from you all in the wilderness
Ow!
that we have a bonus episode. So here we go. Our first question is, quote, I recently was on a 5-hour flight and booked late. So I had to take a middle seat in the back of the plane. When I took my seat, I immediately became suspicious that the two people in the aisle seat and the window seat were actually a couple because they were dressed similarly and they were both wearing the same mask and they were both doing the same type of reading on an iPad. But for the entire flight, neither of these people spoke one word to each other or acknowledged each other's presence. Even at the end of the flight, the man took his own bag out of the overhead bin and walked all the way off the plane to a spot like 30 feet from the gate without ever acknowledging the other person sitting to my left at the window seat. So, here's my question. Is it bonkers if you're a couple to book the aisle and the window in hopes that nobody's going to book the middle and then strand a stranger in the middle seat between the two of you while you pretend not to be together? By the way, I was only able to confirm that, in fact, they were a couple because I hung around after exiting the flight and looked back to see them rendezvous for the first time in 6 hours and acknowledged that they actually knew each other. I think this is bonkers, but what do you think?
I was excited to hear what you think on this one, Nick.
Okay. I mean, I had a lot of different feelings because, yes, there's something a little strange. So I feel like our letter writer is right to sort of clock this as being unusual, a little uncomfortable. So I get that. And the question of is it unusual for people to do this where somebody gets an aisle and somebody gets a window hoping that the middle seat will be left open? Yeah, that's actually quite common. But I think then what happens is we offer to switch with that middle seat person so that we can sit together side by side. I think often that's what happens, right?
But what's different here is these people don't want to sit side by side and they're not talking over the middle seat.
Right. So that point exactly. That's where I kind of came around, which is I think this was actually wonderful because I wouldn't want them to acknowledge each other. I wouldn't want to be in the middle of this because otherwise they would be passing the iPads back and forth or asking each other questions or talking over me. And I don't want that. So on some level, this is actually the move.
Yeah, I feel like this actually really worked out for our letter writer. Besides the fact that it's I know you guys are together. You're dressed in matching outfits. What is that? Now I have to create a whole story. What is the deal? But besides that, way better than if they acknowledged each other.
Right. Now, I don't know if we needed to keep up this fiction all the way off the plane. And it feels like that was a little deliberate, which is we must keep this charade up until we get off the aircraft. And it's sort of you could say hello to your partner when we're getting the luggage out of the overhead bin, right?
I think if they're wearing matching outfits, it's not even this is just what they do. If they were to really wanted people to think they weren't.
Thing?
Yeah, if people really wanted them to think they weren't together, they would not be wearing matching outfits.
Or, would it be so horrible to acknowledge that I know you, but then we just keep to ourselves the entire flight? That would also be fine.
I guess they're not wearing matching outfits. They're dressed similarly. I just feel if it was a whole ruse, they would be let's totally switch it up. Let's not have the same mask. Let's not wear the same kind of clothes. So I think they probably just don't talk to each other. That's just how they function.
Oh, this is that couple at the restaurant that doesn't speak.
Yeah, this is how they travel together. We don't talk. I'll see you out there. Maybe they get out of the plane in different ways and it irks the other one, or they just one likes to go and one doesn't, and this is how they make it work.
Okay. That's a good point. Yeah, I'm a fast deplaner and I'm a lingerer.
Yeah.
And so to make our marriage work, this is what we've decided.
I'll see you out there. I'll see you out front.
Okay. Yeah, actually, that might be the most reasonable explanation. But I do understand our letter writer's sort of annoyance that for a 5-hour flight, he was left to wonder and speculate and try to come up with some explanation for what was happening.
Oh, yeah. You're stuck with being obviously, there's a story here, and it feels like they're trying to hide it from me.
Yeah.
How odd.
But yeah, I think actually this was sort of handled the way I want it to be handled, which is often the please don't engage side of the spectrum. Yeah. That's usually where I would prefer to lean. So I do appreciate that these other passengers leaned in that direction. given all the choices, I like that direction.
I do too. Dustin and I often don't sit next to each other because we each want an aisle.
Yeah. But you can do aisle across aisle.
We will do, but if there's not aisle across aisle, we'll do aisle. Well, that's the go-to. But then if we can't get that, we'll do. And then, but we do acknowledge each other, but then we don't talk the flight because I'm not going to yell up and down the aisle. I'm not doing it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I mean, there is actually something wonderful about air travel, which is that solitude. And even when traveling with other people, it's kind of nice to can I just be alone in my own thoughts for a little while? There's something kind of relaxing about that.
But it's funny if you're you got matching track outfits. You're watching the same thing. And you're I don't know that person. And you're but I saw you by the bathroom. What are we doing?
I hope it's actually that. I hope it's really that. So our next question is, quote, is a cocktail straw used for sipping or stirring a cocktail or both?
I mean, you really got to suck to drink because they're so thin, but I think you could use it for both.
Yeah, so we're talking about those little black straws that have a fairly narrow diameter. Right. And so what's actually interesting is etiquette gurus are actually all over the map on this. There's a lot of different advice out there. Peggy Post, who is part of the Post dynasty, she says that if it's a pub or bar, you can use a straw for sipping as long as it's not awkward to do that. So, have at it. But others are never. It's a stir stick. That's really the name for it. You're not really supposed to sip with it. It just happens to have a hole in the middle, but that's not what that's for. And some bartenders actually say that you do sip with them. And the idea is that because they are smaller, you'll drink your drink slower. And when it's an alcoholic drink, that's actually desirable. Because if it's just a normal Diet Coke straw from a diner, that's a lot of liquid in every sip, and your drink will be finished in 2 seconds and you get drunk too fast. So some bartenders actually appreciate the stir stick. And I did actually hear another theory, which bars use these stir sticks and encourage people to sip with them because when women wear lipstick on glassware is harder to get off.
Oh.
And these glasses are being washed, multiple times a night. And so if everybody who wears lipstick is using straws and those straws are thrown away, that is so much easier.
Oh, that's such a great point. As somebody who's worked in many bars and restaurants, getting that lipstick off is a doozy.
Right? So that's sort of an interesting practical reason why straws exist in bar settings. But for me, I love to sip through a cocktail straw. If it's casual, I'll do it. But if it's formal, then no. So, if the glassware is nice and the setting's nice and it's a little fancy, I'm going to stir with it, but we'll not drink out of it. That's how I would do it.
It is fun to, have your glass. You do the little stir, and then you pick your glass up to your mouth with a little straw, and you go, ooh. You know what I mean? It's such a good time.
Yeah. So, it's dainty. Yeah. And now it's time for Intermezzo. So this episode is brought to you by Curiosity Weekly. It's a podcast from Discovery, and they help you make sense of some of the biggest questions and ideas shaping our world. Each week, they unpack breaking science and tech news with expert guests who make it all make sense. And it's great, and it's so fascinating. They've got great topics like how neuroscientists are studying TikTok and all your social media habits to see which chemicals are being released in your brain that make you so obsessed. Or did you know you can fly from Florida to England on a plane using recycled plastic jet fuel? Or that how AI can now read hieroglyphs from Egyptian pyramids? Or even how there are robots that can appear to feel pain? And if you're listening to our show, I know you're curious about the world, so I think you're going to like this show and you should check it out. So check it out and listen to Curiosity Weekly wherever you get your podcasts. And now it's time for Intermezzo.
Intermezzo.
So this episode is brought to you by Hungry Root.
And Hungry Root is like having your own personal shopper and nutritionist all wrapped into one.
Yeah, I just got my box and I've actually already been eating some of the snacks that I got. And it's great. What I like is that, it's like meals and meal kits and already prepared meals, but also it's just like regular groceries. And sometimes you just oh, can I just get some blueberries too?
Yeah, they do it all for you. And they also ask how many people in your household, how many people you're shopping for. So it's very customizable to what you're looking for.
So you're going to love Hungry Root as much as we do. Take advantage of this exclusive offer for a limited time. Get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/WYRBW and use code WYRBW. That's hungryroot.com/WYRBW, code WYRBW to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/WYRBW, code WYRBW. So our next question is, quote, I have a niece. Let's call her Lisa. She's getting married in a few months, and we all received invitations about a month ago. And the RSVP deadline is about 2 weeks away from now. I've received 3 reminders now to RSVP. I haven't responded yet for many reasons, some logistical and some family dynamics, but I feel like I have until the RSVP deadline to decide. Am I wrong? Is it as weird as I think it is that I've been getting reminders? I would be totally on board if the reminders were being sent the day after the deadline, but this feels weird and makes me not want to go.
What I liked learning from this letter writer is that this kind of reminder service, because I'm sure this comes with it's just automatic.
Well, that was my first question. So I think that's the first question to try to figure out, which we can't because we don't know. But are these automatic emails from the online invitation system? Or are these like text messages, emails directly to you from our host that they had control over?
Oh, yes, because that would be very different. That would be very different.
Right? I mean, so I think that's a question here. I don't love it either way, but I think it's a question.
But with the automatic ones, because there's like this new kind of
harassment.
Well, it's where you RSVP and it's through your text, and then it sends out reminders. Remember, you're going to this.
Okay, sure. Yeah, it's like your dentist.
Or if you haven't RSVP'd, it will be like, remember that this party's coming up. What do you want to RSVP? And it's just automatic. It has to do with the site. And it is interesting. Like, I in no way have any feelings about it when I get them, because I'm like, oh, I already RSVP'd, or I'm not ready to RSVP yet, you know?
Right.
But it is interesting as somebody who does send out, hey, reminders that people don't. Because what I think it is like our letter writer is a very conscientious person. They're waiting to RSVP. They know the date that it's due.
Yeah.
They are weighing different things. But then there's also other people out in the world, unlike our letter writer, who have completely forgotten about it. And that's who this reminder is for.
Yes, but I think our letter writer is correct. We should not pester people until the deadline has passed.
And I do agree that it's a completely different feeling if our host is texting our letter writer.
And I think it might be that. Because
that would be wild. That would be wild if it wasn't just an automatic thing that a company sends out and has nothing to do with anything.
But if it was that, we would not be getting a letter about it. Because I think our letter writer would acknowledge like, oh, I can just ignore that. I have until the deadline. This is an automated response. I think our letter writer is hearing from the host here.
Yeah, that would be very weird.
It might be a mass email from the host, but the host is taking the initiative here.
That would be very weird. I would want to reply and say, hey, I have some stuff I have to figure out. I will respond by the deadline. Thanks so much.
Or maybe more polite, hey, I thought the deadline was this date. Please let me know if you need to know sooner or if I can have until then.
Oh, that's lovely.
Right? Because we want to give the benefit of the doubt.
Gentle.
Maybe the date has changed, or maybe they really need to know for some reason so they can go to their B list or C list. I don't know. But yeah, I think our host is reaching out and pestering before the deadline.
Oh, that's so odd. I was just thinking it was an automated service, and I was like, I think it just does that, and we have no control over it.
Well, if it's automated, ignore it. Who cares? But yeah, if it is the host actually reaching out, then I guess the question is this a mass email or a mass text or a mass Facebook message? If it's a mass anything, I think you can also ignore it before the deadline. I don't feel the need to respond. If it is a personal reach out, hey, Leah Bonema, are you coming to my wedding? I feel like you do need to respond and say something, which is like, hey, I thought I had until this deadline. So I think we have to say something and be like, what's up? But yeah, I can see why this makes you not want to go.
That would be so weird if you had until an RSVP date and they were texting you about it.
But also, looking at the timeline here, so this wedding is in 2 months from now, and we just received the invitation last month. And so, that's a very short invitation window. I guess that's fine.
Yeah, I think I don't really know, but I feel like probably what happened is that the person getting married was like, whoa, we waited a little too long to get our numbers in.
Yeah. And the deadline to RSVP is 2 weeks from now, which I guess places it 6 weeks before the wedding.
6 weeks out.
Okay. I mean, this is all okay. I mean, what do I know?
I think you know a lot, Nick.
So, letter writer, yeah, I think you are welcome to be annoyed here. And I don't think this is extreme enough to not go to the wedding. Like, I get that sort of feeling, but like, we're not going to not go to the wedding because of this. There could be other things for which you don't want to go to this wedding. I don't think this is the reason. Like, that's not the hill I would die on. But, I mean, die on whatever hill you want, I guess.
Also, not to get therapy.
Okay. However,
I wonder, because they said, just to throw this into the pot, I haven't responded yet for many reasons, some logistical and some family dynamics.
Oh, good point.
So I wonder if this
is part of that family dynamic.
It's because of these other family dynamics that this is sort of like a red flagging to you. And really, you didn't already want to go. And this is just like, this is too much for me because this reminds you of all the other reasons you don't want to go. And so you're like, this is the thing. This is the reason. But really, you already deep inside didn't want to go. But I feel like you have to have an actual reason.
Oh, so this is your out. Yeah. Well, as a reminder, a wedding invitation is not a subpoena, and you are free to not go. And if you don't want to go for whatever reason, then just send your best wishes and your regrets, and then that's the end of it. And you have until the deadline to do so.
And I'm just bringing that up because sometimes I think, is this actual thing upsetting me this much, or was I already just upset with that person, and this is just a thing?
Yeah, I think you might be onto something with that. Yeah, I think it's more than just this deadline question.
We all have in our head what Nick just said, not a subpoena.
Not a subpoena. So, our next question is, quote, we are at a restaurant and we have silverware wrapped in cloth napkins for everyone. We have our drinks and we are just placing our food orders. At what point do we unwrap our napkins and put our napkins on our laps? We all want to do that, but there are no plates to put the silverware on. So the silverware would have to go directly on the table. It's a nice restaurant, but we are sitting outside, so the table isn't very clean. Do we just sit here without our napkin blankets until the food comes and then unwrap?
I mean, this question just got like so much different as soon as we're outside on an outside table.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the twist? Right, of course, of course. All right, so Leah, what do you think?
Well, they've already said the table isn't that clean.
Yeah. So therefore,
I'm going to leave it in my napkin.
Yeah, I think that's the move. I mean, I think that's the first choice. I mean, that's the easiest choice. Because, I mean, the rule is, yes, as soon as you sit down, we should have the napkin blankets, as they're called. These sound like really big napkins.
I love a napkin blanket. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yes. So you want your napkin snuggie on as soon as you sit down, usually. I mean, that's kind of what we want to do. But yeah, if it's not clean, then the question is like, where am I putting this flatware? And yes, I don't want flatware on a dirty table. Who does? And so if you wanted to get the napkin in your lap, because perhaps you wanted to dab your mouth after a sip of that beverage, that happens sometimes. And so what you could do is ask the restaurant, oh, can we have some side plates? Could we have a coaster? Could we have something to put our silverware on? I think we could do that.
I think that's lovely. I love this.
That's reasonable.
Very reasonable.
Or we just wait until there's food. Okay, fine.
Third option.
Oh, how is there a third option here?
Well, it's not a good option.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Let's hear it.
We put our napkins on our plates and then we hold our silverware. But because, in that fork knife position, we want food.
I gotcha.
But then you're going to have to also put the spoon in there too. We want food.
And should your spoon be your right hand or your left hand?
I would put it with a knife.
Okay. Thank you at least for that. Yes.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But yes, I think if you do that, I think you have to grip them like you are skiing and they're poles.
Yes.
And then I think you do need to gently bang your fists on the table.
If you could bang that to the tune of "We Will Rock You," that would be the most fantastic. Okay.
The whole song.
The whole song.
Okay. Yeah. So that I think option 3 is actually the correct answer here. So do that. So our next question is, quote, I've been invited to a party where the invite says, quote, dress your best. What does that mean? And for additional context, this party for about 20 people is being held at the home of the host. I'm friends with the host and I feel comfortable asking her what she intends, which I don't think is black tie, but I'm curious as to how I would approach this if I wasn't able to ask her directly.
I would take it as dress your best. Like, what's your favorite thing that makes you feel good that's a nice thing that you like dressing up in?
Yeah, I mean, dress your best. Yeah, I guess. Well, why can't we ask the host though? When is there the occasion when I can't ask my host if I've been invited somewhere?
I think we can always ask the host, but I think our letter writer wants to know if we can't ask the host. There's no context given. We just had to guess.
Pure guessing. Yes, I mean your best though. Although, I mean, my best is probably like tuxedo, but I don't know if that's the right move here.
Well, I think they mean like dress. What is your most thing that you love wearing? That's you.
I mean, can I just show up in like gym clothes? That's comfortable.
Your nicest gym clothes.
Oh, well, they're Lululemon.
Then there it is.
Yeah, I mean, best. I get where our letter writer is coming from. Like, oh, isn't this vague?
It's very vague.
Very vague. Very vague. Best. I mean, I guess what we do know for clues, this is a party for about 20. And so it's probably evening. And we know who's inviting us, or we know why we're invited, probably. So what circle or sphere is that? Like, was I invited by a work colleague? Is this like the best friend? Am I meeting the parents of somebody? Like, is this a new neighbor? So like we have a little context. And so I think we would want to kind of go to the max formality of what that is, right?
We also know it's at their house.
As opposed to what?
It's not in a ballroom.
Symphony?
It's not at the symphony. I know you meant that sarcastically, but yes, exactly. It's not at the symphony.
And assuming your home doesn't have a ballroom, I guess. How sad.
If we believe that our friend's house has no ballroom.
Okay. Sans ballroom.
Which quel dommage.
Okay, I guess there won't be any wrenches in the conservatory.
I'm so disappointed by the mahi-mahi.
I mean, if only they had mahi-mahi. And thank you for that callback. I have been neglecting my mahi-mahi disappointment since that episode. Okay, so we have a little context, but my best for men and women, also different levels of formality. I feel like men's options are going to be tuxedo, suit and tie, suit and no tie, business casual, polo shirt and chinos, sweater, dungarees.
Nick's throwing in their Lululemon gym clothes just to be ornery.
Yes.
I think that it comes off as vague, but I do think our host meant it as like I'm opening the windows and setting you free. I'm acting that out, and then I'm explaining to you what I'm doing to the listeners. I'm opening windows, I'm setting you free. Because I think my guess is they meant like dress what's the most you, fancy ranch. They meant dress what is makes you feel the best. You know, are you like I would wear my fanciest tracksuit.
I guess I read this as make an effort, please. Like, don't just show up. Can you put some thought into what you're wearing?
Have an outfit. Have an outfit that's you.
Tell a story.
That has been washed. Tell a story.
Right. And own whatever you choose, just own it. So if you want to wear that tracksuit, Leah actually just got this navy blue sweatshirt and sweatpant combination that has strawberries all over it.
Yes.
And how wonderful. And I feel like that you could, if you walked into that party and you just owned it, I think you could actually own it.
With the gold anklet and the earrings?
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
And if you want to wear like a boa and a black dress, do it. Dress your best. Make it fun. Make it fun.
Yeah. So I guess if you had no information, could not ask the host, we take as many clues from where, when this is, and then we just go from there and hope for the best.
And hope for the best.
And that it isn't like a costume party and nobody told you.
Well, I think they've opened it up. Like, if you want to dress like a pirate, dress like a pirate.
I mean, I'm not going to say no to that. So, our next question is, quote, how long do you have to keep an anniversary card from your significant other before you can throw it away? And is it proportionate to the number of years you've been together? And what about milestone years? Or are we eternally stuck in a game of domestic deadlock chicken where the first one to recycle the card ultimately loses?
I have like a folder for cards that I just want to keep forever. Extra special cards. I think some people just actually take photos and then save those now of their card. And then the other cards, you know, you leave up forever amount of time if you're like putting them on a table, or maybe you have like a little card board where it either hangs on it or you put it, and then for like what, a couple weeks, and then it goes then it goes in the recycling. I also think we don't need to put it like on top, so our significant other is like, oh, is that my card? Like you put it under.
Well, but I mean, aren't you giving each other cards? So I feel like both cards have to be recycled at the same time, right?
Oh, well, we keep our cards separate, so I don't know how long he has his cards.
Do we display them like they're holiday cards on the mantle?
Yeah, they're displayed, but I mean, I'm not keeping track.
Okay.
Like if my card was gone, I wouldn't be like, where's my card? Actually, come to think of it, I really put my cards up and he doesn't put his cards up.
Something to talk about.
No, I don't mind at all. We don't have enough space for both of us to be putting our cards up.
So, all right, a couple weeks. Yeah, I mean, I feel like for non-milestones, you know, year 12, I think, we exchange cards and then, I think we exchange cards and then I think we don't publicly display them. And then when they disappear, who can say?
Yeah, we usually put them up on the kitchen table, your cards up. Happy anniversary. Maybe that for that week.
Okay, a week. Yeah, I think a week is nice. Yes. And then after that week, I think then we take them away, but maybe don't immediately recycle them. They kind of go into standby mode. And then I think we privately recycle them at our leisure. And we don't tell each other when that happens. And before we do so, we take photos of it and we save it for eternity electronically.
I took a photo of it, so I have it forever. But we could say, hey, so you have the cards out on the table. So you have a big enough place. We have a 1-bedroom, so things got to go. But say you had a place where you could like keep it on the kitchen table together, because that's cute. You're putting both cards together.
Yeah.
At the end of the week, you could say, hey, I'm taking them off the kitchen table. I'm putting your card on your desk. And then they can do with it what they want.
Okay. And now they're sort of hidden away.
Yeah.
And then when they are destroyed, we just don't talk about it.
We just don't talk about it.
Okay. And then I think for major milestones, 1, 5, 10, 25, 50, I think we save them forever.
Also, some cards are just like so perfectly sweet, and maybe it wasn't a milestone card, but you're like, this really, maybe they're even more emotional than the milestone cards.
That's true.
And you'd rather save those than them. I think it's like what makes you really, you're like, this was it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the idea is we publicly display them for 1 week, and then we privately hold them. And then what happens is up to the owner's discretion.
Owner's discretion. I don't want to know about it.
Okay. I think this is the rule. This is the rule.
The cards are sort of like somebody sitting in a window seat and an aisle seat that I knew they were together, but now we're not talking about it.
Yeah, no, sometimes not talking about it is the right etiquette move. That's right. So you out there, we love getting cards, and I promise to save them forever, electronically, of course, unless they're glitter. I will not put something with glitter through the scanner, and so you have been warned.
And also, Nick thinks things that are almost not glitter are also glitter, I've learned. So
have you learned this, Leah? How would you know this?
I just wouldn't even think. I think it was a deer. There was a deer that had like a shiny antler.
Yeah, I would call it glitter.
Which I never would have thought of as glitter. I just thought, oh, that's shiny antlers. Now I know.
And what did I do?
You sent me a video of you throwing it away.
And was I even in my apartment at that point?
I don't think so. I think you were out in the hall.
Yeah.
And it was the most perfect Nick video ever. I laughed so hard. It was literally just like Nick pulling it out, throwing it in the trash, and the lid going down.
Yeah, it was like a 4-second video. Yeah. But you learned a lesson. I've not received anything shiny from you since.
It's a good lesson because I never would have even thought of that as glitter.
So you out there, we would love to hear from you, assuming there is no glitter on it. And our P.O. Box address is on our website, hint, 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 hint. And of course, we want your questions, your events, your pens, and everything else. And you can send that to us electronically through our website, wereraisedbywolves.com, or you can leave us a voicemail or send us a text message to 267-CALL-RBW. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, Leah, one more thing.
What?
Have you signed up for Patreon yet?
I have.
Me too. You out there, have you signed up for Patreon yet? No? Well, go to our website, wereraisedbywolves.com, click on monthly membership, check it out, because we would really appreciate it if you'd support our show.
We love your support.
We would. So please do that, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.